Dámy a pánové, tady další díl Tance šavlí. Dnes je to ovšem opět speciál a společně s námi tady není nikdo jiný než obránce Sparty Praha, který ale má svou velkou minulost Buffalo, Mark Pysyk. Mark, welcome. Thank you very much for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me.
First of all, when I say Buffalo, what is the first thought that you have on Buffalo?
My hockey career really started there. My professional career, drafted there, spent a lot of I don't know how many years there, development camps and training camps. So it holds a special place in my heart, and had a lot of fun there. Sort of grew up there a little bit, and it's definitely brings a smile to my face, and it's where it all started for me.
What is your go-to place for wings in Buffalo?
Oh, for wings, we lived in East Aurora my second time there, and the place was called. I can't even remember the place. We only went a couple times. We had the two small kids. I will get back to you on that. And what's it called? I'll look.
Was there any other restaurant that you was very often visiting? Did you like?
Went to Bacchus a lot. That was downtown. That was, I think, I'd say that's probably where we went the most.
Do you have time these days to watch at least NHL results and watch how the Sabres are doing, or Florida Panthers, for example? Or have you got time to watch NHL yet?
Yeah, not so much watch, just keep up with the scores. Every social media app that you open up, you see it from the night before. So I kept up a little bit. I keep up with a few of my buddies, and definitely watch the Sabres, see how they're doing. Florida's obviously always doing well. Since I left, I think that's when they started doing really well. So maybe I was the problem. But no, they're always doing good. It's good to see some friends there have the success that they've had, and Buffalo, hopefully they can make the next step.
Well, if you go back to your career, 2012-13, your first season, what do you remember from these days playing your first NHL games?
You know what? Just being nervous, honestly. I remember the first few, it was probably the first few months or a couple years even, every time getting on that ice, it's just surreal, and the guys you're playing against is so cool. You look down lineups of teams you're playing, even on the roster in Buffalo, and it's just big names that have been playing for a long time. So you get that sort of pinch me moment of, this is what I've worked my whole life for, and it's amazing to get the opportunity to do that. And the Sabres obviously gave me that opportunity to live out my dream.
During your first year, longest-serving coach back in the days, Lindy Ruff, was released of his duties. What was it like for the locker room and for the city in Buffalo? Because, Lindy Ruff was just a Buffalo Sabre, and now he was gone.
I never played for him. He got let go, and then a few weeks later, I think, or a month later, is when I got called up. But for all the training camps, that was, you talk about the players that you see in training camps and in exhibition games, but seeing him as the coach and seeing the time that he spent with the prospects even was amazing back then. And it was really cool just to be around him, and I think the city really loved him, and he's back now. And I think the reaction from what I've seen, which is basically just social media at this point, but it seems like everybody's happy to have him back. And I think obviously his track record, fantastic coach, but just for me, those meetings that we would have, and even in development camps, he was there, and I think he hosted us at his house for a barbecue, all the young guys, and it was pretty cool to meet him and get to know him a little bit.
The season after 2013-14, it's kind of when the tank thing started. Do you think that the trade of Ryan Miller and also Steve Ott was a turning point that the team decided to go to full tank mode?
That's tough to say. First, I'll say it was a long time ago. I don't remember. There's been a lot of things and coaches and GMs and along the way. It could have been. I have no idea.
And what about Ryan Miller trading in the locker room? But because we talk about Ruff, but Ryan Miller was also one of the biggest. He's still one of the biggest stars of the Buffalo Sabres.
Absolutely, that's what I mean. Like just coming down on him, I was never a good shooter, but when you come down in drills and you have to shoot on Ryan Miller for your first couple first couple training camps or years, it's disheartening for sure because you look, there's no net, and just watching him play the game at such a high level was cool to be around and be a part of. And then, like a lot of those guys, there's the off-ice part, and he was nothing but amazing. And you know, a couple Thanksgivings, I think maybe the one at Drew Stafford's apartment, he was there, and it's just, they're human beings and so nice, and they were so good to me as a young guy that I really appreciate that.
What about Steve Ott? Because, you know, no one talks about Steve Ott, but from the fun perspective, he was always the kind of a guy who was the true leader in the locker room.
Absolutely. He's another one of those guys that, you know, treated everybody in the room respectfully, but he had that old school mentality of, we're just going to work through everything, and we're going to have our fun and come together as a team, which was cool to see, and he was good at that. But he was always, you know, the guy working the hardest and getting everybody together and making things happen. He is obviously having success in his coaching career at this point, which is no surprise to anybody that knows him. And I'm fortunate enough to know him and have played with him for a little bit.
Was there anyone who was taking care of you the most, like during your first years in Buffalo? Someone who took you under the wings, maybe rent your apartment at his house or something like that?
Yeah, I think, well, I did. I actually stayed at Steve Ott's apartment for the summer. We were there for development camp, and then we would stay for a little bit longer. And I stayed at his apartment because there was nowhere else to stay. So he was definitely one of those guys. I think just growing up with like the Tyler Myers, Tyler Ennis, Marcus Foligno, those guys were, you know, around in my first few camps, and then I could see them make the jump to the NHL, and then they were obviously there and fantastic to me and very welcoming to my wife and myself. So it's cool to get to know them and continue those friendships today.
I will now give you a tough question, but, you know, talking about the 14-15 season, you know, the tongue wars for McDavid or Eichel, we've heard from Ted Nolan that there was pressure from like the upper office to lose games. Did the players feel it also that way, that the office want team to lose just to have a better chance to get McDavid?
I don't think any player would ever go out and try to lose a game. It's professional hockey. I myself certainly never felt that there was pressure to lose games. I don't know, obviously, everything that happened or went on. But from my perspective, the guys they still had a good lineup dressed, and we're trying to win every game.
Last season in your first stint with Eichel and Reinhart in the lineup, how good they were in their first years.
Yeah, that's it's been no surprise to see how successful they've been. Just right out of the gates, both of them were, you know, not that much younger than I am, I don't think, but they were pretty much superstars right when they stepped on the ice. So it's cool to see where they're at now for sure, and it's definitely no surprise.
Well, you already said it. You meet a lot of coaches and a lot of GMs. Ralston, Nolan, Ruff, partially in your first stint. So, what coach maybe gave you the most during your first years in the NHL? Who, you know, bring the most out of you?
Well, I think Ron Ralston was he was the one that I think had probably a big say in calling me up that first year. I had him in Rochester to start that year. And then once he moved up, I think and he gave me the most opportunity. And then Ted Nolan, he gave me another shot. So I think those two while I was in Buffalo for sure. And then in Florida, I had Coach Q, who put me up to forward. And that was
your hat trick in the NHL, Mark Pysyk scoring a hat trick. Oh my God. It's my go-to call when I'm doing your Sparta games, you know, in the Extraliga. This guy just scored a hat trick when he was replacing Barkov at the fourth line.
That was pretty silly, yeah. But yeah, I mean, I've had you know, some great coaches along the way, and that was like you said, I would have never scored 3 goals in one game if he hadn't put me up forward. So he had the faith in me to keep me in the lineup, and yeah, it's been a good ride.
You mentioned a couple of guys from your first stint. Is there anyone that you are still in touch with? Maybe sometimes share some messages, or it's just that history?
Sometimes I'll talk to Reinhardt. He obviously is in Florida now, where I was, so there's kind of that familiarity. Other than that, from Buffalo, I talked to Tyler Ennis, is an Edmonton guy, so we'll talk to him. Tyler Myers, we keep in touch a little bit here and there. And Marcus Foligno, his wife and my wife are very good friends, so they chat quite a bit. Another one, Luke Adam, who I met, his wife and my wife are very good friends as well, so it's good to, we haven't seen them, obviously, as you grow up as much as you want, but definitely good friends.
Well, you missed each other because Adam was starting, I believe it was past season, maybe the 2 seasons back in Plzeň, but he wasn't as good as you in his first starts in the Czech Hockey League. But do you know that you have scored one of the most well-known, memorable goals in the Buffalo history?
Is that the butt goal?
Yeah, exactly, the butt goal.
Ice to Pezic. Pezic gaining the line. He takes a shot. Rebound! He shipped it up in the air. It's right to goal crease. Where's the puck? Is it in the net? The Sabres think it's in the net. The goaltender's in the net. And Mike Smith is cheating like crazy. He's trying to move his knees to move it out of there. They're blowing the horn, bud.
What can you say about it?
Well, every time I see it on like a highlight reel or something, not highlight reel, but like a blooper reel, it always says Mike Smith goal backed in, and I'm like, no, that's my goal. That was my second ever goal. I can need credit for that. But just a completely ridiculous bounce, and I thank God they could see it from the one replay, because I obviously knew, and we knew where it went, but when with the replay, if you can't see the puck, sometimes they can call it off. So I was just praying that it counted, and I think it was the last game before our Christmas break, so it was good way to end right before the break.
I would love to see how the whole locker room reacted when you got through the video from that game, and then everyone in the locker room saw that goal. Like, what was it like? I guess it was fun.
Yeah, just silly and goofy for sure. And I think it was my second goal, so it was good. But I'm not sure who a lot of guys were asking. Is that your first goal? Is that your first goal? That'd be a wild first one, but pretty goofy, anyways.
I will just make a short step outside of this. Hearing RJ doing the calls, and especially you didn't score many for Buffalo, but still, RJ was a part of it, and you still hear these calls when you go through highlights your career. Is the player looking at the call, hearing the call, and saying, "Oh, that was a good call"? Are they, looking how good the play-by-plays are, and is it making you feel better when you hear, for example, RJ on the calls?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think a lot of the highlights in the past, the big goals, everything, there's always the audio with it, and it's definitely a huge part of it. When they show movie scenes and switch the music from whether it's scary to silly, it completely changes the vibe, and I think that goes the same way with the calls of the whatever goals they are, if they're big overtime winners or if they're just somebody's first NHL goal. If the play-by-play is going and it's exciting, that definitely adds to the clip for sure.
Have you heard your first Czech Extra League goal?
No, I haven't. I mean, I might have, but
you should. It was me.
Is it good? Yeah, it was amazing. Of course I have.
Pospíchá za ním také Michal Vitou, který přeskočil před Douderu. Klepiš, zajímavá přidávka, propadá k Pisikovi. Mark Pisik! Pisikova rána, to je gól! Mark Pisik vyrovnává na 1-1. Well, if we go back to the 21-22 season, when you came back to Buffalo, how different the whole team, the locker room was since the time you left?
Yeah, it was a lot younger. I was on the other side of the age gap. Not gap, but it was so cool to be back and see all the trainers and the staff and everybody there. It was cool. It felt like not home, but like a little bit of that sense of home, and where like I said, grew up a little bit. It was very cool to be back.
What about Tage Thompson? Because this was his breakout season. He had like 10, 15 goals maximum, and right now 38. Yeah. How good was he even maybe at the training, at the practice?
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those guys that, you know, when you see him in training camp or you see him in the pre-skates, you see how hard he shoots it, you see how big he is, you see how strong he is. You think that there's just no way that he's not going to become who he's become now, and it's awesome to see that. And he just would score a lot, and he played well, and he played hard, and he deserves you know, everything he's been given, and he continues to prove that he deserves it.
What about Donny Granado? Did he choose you as one of the alternate captains, or what is the story behind it? Because you was the alternate captain that season. Yeah,
I think there was some injuries when I got it, maybe. But yeah, he was, I would say, as far as coaches go with teaching, I would say he's the best one I've had in pro hockey that could break it down and really get to the players of every skill level and everything, and teach the game really well and build up confidence. I remember one game, and we were at home against Toronto, and I rimmed it up the wall, and I think they scored with like 0.2 seconds left to tie it or win or something. And I don't know if he saw me leaving the rink upset, or we were at dinner after with the guys. I just got a phone call from him, and you know, when you're getting a call from the coach, it's never a good thing, right? Especially a couple hours after the game. And I left the table and answered, and he just said, don't worry about it. This is the game of hockey. Mistakes are happening. And just for him to, I know that it wasn't just me he was doing that for. So I think he's a big reason why some of those guys have had the success and took the jumps that they did that year.
There were big talks if the Alex Tuch or Rasmus Dahlin will become a new captain of the Buffalo Sabres. Right now it's Rasmus Dahlin. I know he was still young, but could you saw in him back in the days like that grit that he can become a Sabres captain? Was he also allowed in the locker room? Because sometimes you can see on the ice, but the guys are different in the locker room, what the fans can see, and different on the ice.
100%. I think he is a exceptional human being. Obviously on the ice, you know how good he is and exceptional, but he's so mature, and he treats everything the right way. He's successful, and he is who he is for a reason. He's I mean, like you said, it could have been other guys too, but I have nothing but good things to say about all those guys. But he's been very impressive to me.
One last thing, you know, maybe one of the biggest games you played was Heritage Classic against Toronto. How good this game was, you know, playing, you know, this kind of game. It's always something special, I guess.
For sure. That was definitely a highlight, to play outside. The snow was falling down. It was pretty cold, which is kind of cool too. It's cool. We went, there was one in Edmonton when I was younger, and we went to watch that, the Heritage Classic, and to get to play in one was amazing.
And what about now? Sparta Prague, you know, the season didn't start as well. Right now you're racing, but there are pretty positive feedback on your game. So how do you enjoy your time in Prague?
From the rink to the city to everything, it's been absolutely amazing. My family has loved it. The arena, the fans have been better than anything I could have imagined, really. I didn't know what to expect, but you know, on a Tuesday night when the building's full and loud, it's where I'm having a blast playing hockey right now, and my family's enjoying it as well.
What about this different like cheering style? Because you know you hear the fans throughout the whole game, and that's something we wanted to bring with the fan club also to Buffalo. You know, that there is a cheer through the whole of the game. How much does it, you know, give players sometimes the extra energy to finish the shift?
For sure, it's definitely different. The first times you hear it, where it's like, whatever, 15 minutes into the second period, and there's a loud roar and they're chanting, and it's awesome. You feel the energy when you have the puck in the offensive zone, and when you're on the road and you are hemmed in your own zone, you can definitely hear the crowd, you know, building that energy too, and it just adds another aspect of fun and a cool part of the European hockey experience.
Will Mark Pysyk stay in Prague for next season?
I don't know yet. Who knows? We'll see. We've been moving, I think, last 7 years, new place every year. So we'll see. Who knows?
All right. Thank you, Mark, for your time.
Thank you very much.